evening and welcome to the Public Global. As you can see, we have Girish Joshi ji, senior journalist, with us. Welcome, Girish Joshi ji, in our program. Today we are going to today we are going to be discussing the dirty war that has toppled Assad and doomed Christians, as it's being said. Rebel leader Ahmad al-Sharara's Islamist group is stamping its authority on Syrian state with the same lightning speed that it seized the country a few days back, deploying police, installing an interim government, and meeting foreign envoys, raising concerns over how inclusive Damascus' new rulers intend to be. And Turkey has also vowed to open its embassy, and since it's the first country to open its embassy because it wants to buy peace with HTS, and since its Syrian National Army is already fighting Kurds, who are also fighting ISIS, supported by US. So it seems now the battle is far from over. And on the second part, Mohammed al-Bashir, Syria's new interim prime minister, has said he will only remain in power until March because they will decide by then whether it's going to be a presidential form of government or a parliament elected government. But HTS, which remains classified as a terrorist group by the United States, regional power brokers, Turkey, and other governments, has yet to spell out key details of the transition process, including its thinking on the new constitution. So, I want to know from you now. Turkey has put its embassy in place. Other countries like Israel from the Golan Heights, where the fresh waters come into Turkey from into Syria. Now, the next target of Jolani would be the Israeli post at Golan Heights. And since Israel knows the importance of Golan Heights because Damascus is only 60 kilometers away, and they can keep a control on Damascus from sitting at Golan Heights, and also the fresh waters because Israel is also landlocked area. So it's going to be a water war. And secondly, the buffer zone, which was negotiated in 1987, has also been taken over by Israel by bombing military establishments and air force bases of the Bashar al-Assad's government. Now, Julani would be targeting to reinstate those, air force bases and military establishment. What do you have to say between Israel and Julani? The war seems far from over. And secondly, the Kurds from the Syrian National Army are going to reclaim their land back, and they are US based. So US is anyways fighting this proxy war along with the Kurds and also the rebels which are controlling the US base. And Julani is targeting both. He's going to target Israel as well as US backed Kurds. What do you have to say about it?
Thank you, Atamjeet ji. The basic thing, if you think what is in the crunch is the Shia and Sunni sect. America has always worked hard that any come maybe they should not get together. But the dual role they played was for Saudi Arabia. When they wanted the support, they also started helping out Saudi Arabia, taking their help. What they did is the first target was Iraq, as you know. Iraq had the same position, the otherwise, like was in Syria. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni sect and he was ruling the Shias, the majority of Shias. Same position was in Syria. The Shias were 10%, 75 to 80% were Sunnis. This was the other way around. So wherever the disturbances are easy to create, who is interested, we know. The conflict should go on. Israel has to be anyhow protected. That was the priority. But what this erupted was unexpected. This was because of we can plainly tell it was foolishness of Assad. When after his father died in 2000 and he took over, he had made false promises that, he is for the development of the country. He will root out corruption. And this was the hope that people still believed him. And for a while, he also brought in some Sunni businessmen to show that, he's trying to develop everybody. Sabka saath, sabka vikas. I think he also had that narrative to tell. But by 2006 or 7 coming, people started realizing that he's just on the face telling something, but Sunnis are not into better shape now. 2006 and 10, the draft that happened there, they were short of food and everything. It was famine. At that time, the discrimination between Shia Sunni distribution of food and all was also popping up as a dissatisfaction against the Saddam regime. Now, what opportunity comes in was that Iran being a Shia country and same being with Iraq, this was an apple of discord between, because it was very unsettled. An unsettled country can be dangerous for anybody. So small thing happens. America created Al Qaeda. You know what happened to Osama bin Laden, because after he settling out the issue of Russia being removed from this, they wanted to take care. But Saddam Hussein and this Osama bin Laden, and they understood the real meaning that they just use them, throw you out, and then take the regime. So ultimately, they went against the Americans and they had to withdraw. But then by that time, they had grown very powerful because they had arms. So once they came in, and then when Osama bin Laden tried to change the stand that let the Arabic world get together, Islamic State should be formed. This did not go well with Al-Julani. Al-Julani suddenly comes out from there and tells that no, we have to work for the betterment of the Sunnis. And this separated. By that time, America was the country who declared $10 million reward on this, that he's a terrorist, world wanted terrorist. Then they created ISIS, but then ISIS also went out of their control because they started capturing many other countries also, bombarding for good cause, no cause. Then ultimately there comes a scheme which was known as Timber Sycamore, that was developed by Russia and China together, that they need to eliminate ISIS, otherwise they are going to create havoc in the world. That is done away with. That is done. But the interesting part is, then you come to know that Al-Julani originally is born in Golan Heights, and his name was Ahmad al-Sahra. So now he has got that sentimental attachment also for Golan Heights, and now he is leading the war. So obvious he would not be able to spare this where anybody tries to inculcate. But there are two opinions now coming in within the experts, that has Russia double-crossed Al-Julani. They allowed them to get in, because first thing, if you see, after Iraq breaking out, the Shia minorities Sunni minorities came out who were who were with Saddam Hussein. They went into hiding because they did not want to get killed. Same thing happened with even Syria. All those guys who were with Assad, they came into normal dresses, and they declared that they were not with the army, and they have escaped somewhere. These all unsatisfied lot gets together, and they finally decide. And you see the whole thing, what they did is they first capture Aleppo, where they did not want Quds to dominate, which they had already. And these were the three where they had Sunni majorities. So they first Aleppo, Hamas and Homs, they capture it where they get full support. And this is how they were able to control the whole country. Rest was all desert. We know how much concentration we have there. This is how they have entered now. Now what is happening? If suddenly within 24 hours after taking over the regime, and there is no certain government there, suddenly Al-Julani says that my next target is Israel. So obvious, not only Golanites, he is talking of going beyond Golanites. Now this is disturbing the American regime, that what happens? They are also on a tenterhook line now. After Trump taking over, he has assured that he wants peace in the world, which might be a hypothetical situation. But then what is he going to do? Russia, if you see on the other side, they were asked to vacate very silently. They have taken away there. And Jalani at first made a statement that I will not disturb Russian establishment there. If they want to go, they can go. But that was a message between the lines. So they started shifting. But there is some message that Russia has not gone, Russian Air Force and Navy has not withdrawn totally back to Russia. They have gone somewhere again into Turkey. So they are very nearby again, where they can look at the situation and act swiftly. Lot of things are changing out. How much will Israel now be able to do? Because there's a lot of dissatisfaction in Israel also. When you're talking of that much, you are not been able to rescue your hostages for 300. And what is happening to them, nobody knows. Releasing of people in Syria, and they telling what were the atrocities. So this is creating a psychological pressure on those hostages which have been held by Hamas. So they first thought Hamas is clear of. They wanted that under this disturbance they can destroy the Iraq's atomic power situation, that Iran has already declared that they are going to create atomic power now, because now they are not afraid of sanctions. Now the fear of sanctions gone, every small country will try to show that, okay, if you are not there, we have got an alternative, which is Russia, China, and the Middle East, everything. So this fear factor which has gone up, and literally you can see the dollar domination going down and having an alternative economic arrangement, These countries are literally now coming out and trying to speak. Let us see where does this end. Because now fight between the Shia Sunnis, people have now realized that it was only for an ulterior motive of selling the arms. Nobody has got advantage after fighting into it. So possibly geopolitical changes will now decide the course of the new world, I think. Yeah.
The religious wars are proxy wars. They are fought only to sell weapons and to create superpowers. America has been a superpower for way too long. When it went into Iraq war after the Kuwait annexation of Iraq, things looked different at that time. But now the Arab world is also divided because, as you said, Russia and China are the new, new kids in the block, or the new superpower heroes who will also influence Western policies into Arab and the Middle Eastern countries. I want to show you the map of the area where the Israel is already occupied the buffer zone. If you see the things in the arrow, these arrow marks are where they have taken over the green zone, which is the buffer zone, and this is as part of the agreement in the 1991 with Bashar al-Assad's government, before that his father's, and they always maintain this as a buffer zone. Mount Hermon is where the rivers flow into Syria, and this is fresh water. Israel is also because landlocked, and it also wants fresh water. So that's a war there. However, I will also give you a history on this. Is that I was reading somewhere that the Rothschild, Baron Edmund de Rothschild in 1894 purchased land in Golan Heights for Jewish settlement. And this is the link why Israel captured Golan Heights, because he was being sponsored by Rothschilds. And if somebody knows about Rothschild, they control all the vaults of the world. The best countries, even America, Britain, European Union, all the vaults are controlled by the Rothschilds. Though through Ottoman land laws and local resistance, these expanding challenges were always there. Ottoman Empire never wanted Jewish settlement to go beyond that. After the end of World War One, Golan became part of French Mandate Syria. Significance of Golan Heights is that Golan Heights provide a strong military advantage point due to its high elevation, offering a clear view of both Syria and northern Israel. It was a key defense position for Syria before Israeli occupation in 1967, unofficially and officially 1987. Control over water resources. It's a crucial source of water for Syria. Its river, including the Yarmouk and Hasmani, contribute to the country's water supply in Syria. Losing control over Golan also means access to their vital resources. It's a symbol of national pride for Syrians because it represents their sovereignty, and it's an essential part of Syria's territorial integrity because it's a symbol of reclaiming what was lost during the 67 war. The economic value is the Golan has fertile land and which Syria uses for agriculture. And also now, since you just mentioned about China and Russia interference and Turkey supporting the HTS, because for obvious reasons it cannot annoy Russia because it's through Gazprom Bank it receives its crude oil from Russia. Recent development following the fall of Assad's regime is that Israel has reportedly taken control of the Syrian side of the buffer zone following the collapse of the Assad regime. PM Netanyahu described this as a temporary defense measure due to the collapse of the 74 disengagement agreement. But as you said, Jolani is certainly looking at it from a very wider perspective, and he'll be fighting Israel from one side. And secondly, Kurds are being supported by US, who are already fighting ISIS. Now they'll have two enemies. They'll have to take care of ISIS as well as Al Qaeda trained Jolani HTS because he was with Al Qaeda, with Al Zawari. That's how he had a 10 million bounty on his head. Now, as you mentioned, that even the Iranian, aircraft carrier with multiple drones is already there at the shore watching these developments. And the videos that showed that Iran and Russia are moving their military missiles away from Syria. You just now said that these bases have been shifted, but they are very close in proximity because Iran knows it's fighting its war with Israel, and Israel is targeting Iran. Syria is just a proxy land. And on the other side, even China has taken head on US tariff war by devaluing its yuan. So both ways, how do you look at the how is the war placing? And secondly, as you mentioned earlier, that through the Arctic route, Russia is also getting 6,000 nautical miles less for transporting its goods to Canada, through China, the stuff can Russia and China will make Canada its greater ally. And Donald Trump, in his speech today and yesterday, mentioned that now he wants to put tariffs on Canada and make it it's one of its state, because Canada is becoming a danger zone. How do you correlate the two? The Iranian presence in the seas and the Arctic route which the Russia has taken, how is going to help Russia and China uh, send stuff to Mexico and Canada, and how would it escape tariff through devaluation? Girishji.
Atmajit, it's very interesting to see now that these all disturbances were created when Russia was busy fighting Ukraine.
Yes.
Now Trump coming in, and if he makes a settlement, the whole situation will change, because then Russia will be able to again concentrate here, where it was an assumption that he has already left Syria, but he hasn't. He is nearby somewhere. And very first thing with Al-Jalani has done is he assured Russia that we are not going to disturb your ports and airport equipments and army establishment that you have. If you wish, you can go. So that message was very loud and clear that they wanted to go, but then Turkey would be very happy to be there, because Turkey can be a next target, which is the fear into this position now.
Hmm.
Advantage is that Iran is now able to concentrate. What happened during those days was good, because Russia, China, Iran, they were not so powerful. China was under the regime of sanctions. But things have now changed. They are economically powerful. They are powerful by supplies. They are powerful by dominating the market of the world. Advantage, disadvantage, what you can see is that since 7th century, when the Romans left and Arabs took over, Syria has never been a place of peace. It has always been involved into some or the other dissatisfaction. The reason is they deliberately left Kurds undecided, so that dissatisfaction of Kurds for having that Kurdistan land is not satisfied, so they keep on fighting. And who instigates them and who provides them arms, it's an open secret. Suddenly, after the fall of Iraq, because Saddam Hussein was Sunni ruling the majority of Shias, same thing in the other side, other way around, happened in Syria. Assad was Shia and he was ruling 75% Sunnis. Other side, Iraq was maximum Shias ruled by Saddam Hussein, who was a Sunni. These things were taken care of. The dissatisfaction of Shia Sunni war definitely helped Americans selling the arms. But now it has come to a saturation point, because people have now started realizing that if America doesn't like Shias and Sunnis, why did he take the help of Saudi Arabia to settle out Iraq? And of late, Saudi Arabia is also realizing that he had been just used at his own expenditure. America did not play using his ground for fighting against Iraq. So things are now changing around. Only thing fearing factor was the sanctions and the dollars and freezing of the assets. Now that big fear after BRICS coming into the market and practically showing that it can stand as an alternative to dollars has really encouraged even the smaller countries to say that, okay, we'll look into profitability. And of late, every country has now understood that what Russia and China have a theory of, that let us develop all together, let us earn, and expansion theories now don't work. I know anti-China Russia policies, some bloggers have started telling that China and Russia are now silent, but that expansion theory that they have will not go off. And they root out Taiwan for that reason. Now that is, even if that happens, even India can be said that today or tomorrow they will take over Bangladesh, they will take over Pakistan. It's time. If the people wish so, something can be changed. So things are getting complicated, but otherwise, I can tell you now as you talk that how can China and Russia be able to challenge? 28th of May, China has made a publication. China recently signaled its willingness to let the yuan weaken against the strengthening dollar. Such a move would likely aggravate capital flight from country to the global trade tensions of making Chinese export cheaper. Now, if Trump has played a game, I think the finishing part will be done by the Chinas. Moment he declares the percentage of tariff high, yuan will be brought down at a pro rata, and it will be congruent to the trade that was going on. So who is ultimate loser? Now, you will not be able to say that nothing comes from China. If not, things. Europe was buying oil from India, which the oil was coming from Russia. That sanctions were deflated otherwise. So same thing happens here. And interesting part that you said is, why is America now getting worried? Indirectly, if you see, Trump is pressurizing Canada to become the 51st state. The reason is
Yes.
Canada has already played a deep game. There was a new road which was, found accidentally by a Norwegian captain ship container vessel in 1906,
Hmm.
2013. Sorry,
Yes.
2013. He took a risk and he traveled by that northwest passage which was above Canada. So from Russia to Canada and to UK, you can go through the Arctic Circle area, which is at present not possible. Why was it not possible? Because there were no icebreakers. The icebreakers running on the fuel, because there are no stations where they can refuel. This program was not that powerful. But now, after the atomic vessels, nuclear vessels coming into as an icebreakers, they can go long away and as many days they wish. China has already created one that has moved out. And if this happens, your distance of 13,000 kilometers will be reduced by 8,000 kilometers, and you will be saving 4 days traveling from Russia to Europe. And this would be advantageous to Canada because Canada is the major area where the ships will pass on. They've already developed, Canada has developed four more ports, which can be for berthing and giving the traveling facility. And he has already created almost 13,000 jobs looking at the port. So definitely now Canada is not in that position where America can negotiate with it. So things are changing very fast. The theory of your creating fear factor has now gone. China, Russia are now teaching the people that you all can go together and earn. Let us earn together. This is their policy as far as we understand now. So if Canada is at an advantage, even you cannot talk to Texas, you can, because China is already there. And when ultimately final thing is when Tesla imagines that now it is a failure because he's not able to compete with China. And you'll have to understand that China does not have that all Reserve Bank regulations. It will be the country who will be deciding. Yuan going down equivalent to the tax that you have done. So the material people will not be affected. How will be Trump now able to stop that is an interesting thing. And if he does that, the whole sea route of your African and Suez Canal will be stopped. The traffic goes halfway there, and your income will automatically reduce. So now even Africa is worried. Even the Gulf countries are worried. Everybody is worried that 50% of the cargo going off from here will definitely change the economical situation of the world. Now everybody will be looking forward that how can it take advantage of the new route that is being formed. So these are the changes which are pressurizing you not only economically, even physically, and the situation of the geopolitical, which is now fast changing. Yes, Arpit.
I will move towards my last question to you, and this is pertaining to India. India has been the closest Russian ally until the Cold War era, and the new Modi regime. We saw, a lot of technology transfer from Israel. American companies were, targeted. Modi went to America a couple of times, in the last year itself to get some FDIs. However, he's not been successful in getting FDI from US. Now he's counting on Donald Trump's regime, which is going to start when he's going to take oath of president on 20th of January. After that, things may look better for India with regards to Modi's reputation and his links to Donald Trump. However, his favorite capitalist Adani, he's not been able to raise much fund now because of the DOJ and the inquiry against him for paying bribes to Indian officials. Even his Adani Port DFC, that $553 million he was supposed to raise, he's now going to be taking care from the internal accruals. So, the US bond market is shut for Adani. It could be a corporate war between various groups back in India. But how do you see now with Russia and China? Mukesh Ambani has signed a $13 billion deal with Rosneft for getting 50% of the crude supplies from there at $3 less than the Dubai 2025, because the prices that they declare, they will be giving $3 less. From $30 less to $3 less, there's not much difference anymore. So do you think India would be able to leverage its position in BRICS to not depend on Israel and America? Would there be a tactical shift? Because the Foreign Secretary as well as the External Affairs Ministry has shown some inclination towards BRIC countries and towards aligning with China in the supply chain management and also developing close ties with Russia. So, do you see India getting closer to China and Russia and the BRICS, or Modi's friendship with Donald Trump and Netanyahu is going to play along till the 2029, till the government is there? What do you have to say?
Atmaji, we can't get out of the grip. Once we worked in BRICS was not an idea where we were very new entrants there. We were the pioneers in formation. 2006, Manmohan Singh had given this idea. And you cannot justify that why we should be out of the BRICS. But our neutral stand would have been converted into a very big opportunity had we not made the policies which are going to benefit a particular person or a particular party. We should have worked into the perspective where our rules, the recent case, if I can quote you, is the Switzerland removing us from the list of most preferred nation. Why?
Yes.
One company. The company, a very world famous company, and they had very big establishment, very big investment. That was Nestle in India. Now, there can be any changes in the world. We cannot dictate the terms that everybody will have to follow the rules that we make. Here, suddenly,
Yes.
when you charge the countries which are signatory to Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is OECD. OECD members charge 5% of the income that you earn in that country. But you had an agreement with Nestle where you said that it will be 10%. Delhi High Court rules in favor of Nestle that, yes, that's fine. You cannot say that if it's 5%, you should have things done. Unfortunately, Supreme Court turns down that, telling that you will have to make a change in the income tax rules. Now, Finance Ministry has got all those powers to say that this can be exempted and this can be taken care of. By that time, this relief would have been given. But for what reason? They better know. So really, if they want Indian companies to remove American and foreign companies and take over the establishment in every business, this is a wrong theory we are adopting. Then once that FDI message goes wrong, and there are almost 35 or more countries, I'm not exactly remembering the figure, into that Organization for Economic Cooperative Development. Now, if those countries finally decide that we are not going, what happens? Other side, if you talk to the things, how are we understanding? Because possibly we could see what is happening in public and what we read, but what is the government's planning, we cannot be very sure of. China recently, a week back, the finance minister of China says that possibly majority of APIs we will be importing from India, where today 85% we are importing from China. These active pharmaceutical ingredients which are very necessary for making the pharmaceuticals. And it is an established fact that we have got in majority of the countries now access to supplying of pharmaceutical companies products. So is this China trying to divert his business to India and looking care for other things? Because now he is looking into very big thing. He has already manufactured the aircrafts equivalent to Boeing 737 Max. He is having market there. He is having, but and almost he has, I think, started using those airlines, and many countries have booked orders for that. So whether he's
Yes.
trying to enter the big manufacturing businesses and distribute smaller ones, we missed the bus even during Bangladesh. When Americans were asked to withdraw from China, we were not smart enough to catch hold of them and bring it to India. The only reason is our policies are redundant. Unless you freeze the policy for 5 years, nothing is going to come. And when we come to Russia, Reliance importing oil from Russia, it will not be affected by any sanctions, even otherwise. Now they are redundant, they are not effective. But because 2012, Reliance smartly built an SEZ for a petroleum refinery. You can stop the domestic product coming in. For SEZs, no. So if he's importing and exporting, the sanctions don't work. And this is how we were able to supply the petroleum products to Europe, because they don't come into that purview of sanctions. So we are also making smart moves. Now remaining neutral will be advantageous or not. This future will decide, because we don't talk on government party basis, but as a country, if this is a smart move, this will be very better. But the balancing act will need very much cautiousness. And first thing, only thing is that India need not now worry like other countries that now the sanctions of America and the dollar domination going down, this instrument will not be very effective in the world in the near future.
Absolutely. The China trade surplus on Friday stands at 97.44 billion USD. This was declared 3 days back in November 2024, which is up from 69.45 billion USD in November 2023. And one study says in next 3 years, our Chinese import is going to balloon 4 times the figures than they are today. For example, if you're $100 billion surplus Chinese import, then we will be $400 billion maybe in next 3 years. So we cannot avoid China. All we can do is look into value addition, supply chain management, and see how we can leverage our manufacturing, because our manufacturing of the GDP has gone down tremendously. Ease of doing business is also, we have gone down a lot. European countries don't want to put new plants into India for the simple reasons that since Morarji Desai's time, we've been seeing when Coca-Cola was asked to leave. Similarly, these companies fear that once we establish our FMCG business, manufacturing business, we don't get support from the US, from the Indian government because of the custom duties, because of import bottlenecks, and also a lot of red tapeism in getting licenses and approvals. Ford had shut down during Modi's rule, and a lot of companies have shifted back hence then. However, they've been working very closely with Southeast Asian countries with virtually no problem. Even Thailand, I was looking at, is already become a $5.2 trillion economy because a lot of waivers those countries give, like Indonesia, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Thailand, to these foreign companies to operate, and they virtually have tax-free zones. And also they don't get charged income tax if they are not repatriating that money. So a lot of these financial benefits need to be given to these companies. Labor laws have to be eased, and a lot of things that you do for your own, manufacturers or producers, in order to protect the domestic industries, you have to create a level playing field. Otherwise, none of the international markets operators would operate in India, and cost of import will certainly go up in due course of time. Girish Joshi ji, thank you very much for today's insight into a lot of things from Syria to China to Russia. We will continue to take feedbacks from you and tell our viewers that whatever is going on in the global scenario, we'll try and bring to you news which is unfiltered and which is unbiased. Thank you very much and have a good day. Girish Joshi, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.